Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Complete Sports Media's podcast. I'm your host, Darren Campbell, and joining me, as you can see, Jason Cameron. Hey, Jason, how are you?
Very good, Darren. How you doing today?
Doing really well, really good. It's getting a little chillier out there. You can definitely tell it's fall, heading to winter. We're seeing snow in a lot of parts of the country, but luckily nothing here yet.
Yeah, I don't want to see that yet. I don't want to see that at all, actually, to be honest with you.
No.
I'd rather it be like the way it was today. It was a really nice day today. If it can be like crisp and nice, no rain, no overcloud, no cloudy stuff, that'd be great. But I can only hope for the best.
Yeah, me too, yeah. So I think you might notice my backdrop here. I just squeezed in Cam Newton and Bill Belichick onto a podcast, and I didn't get a chance to change it before you tuned in. So I had a really good talk with those guys today and asked why they suck so bad right now. And it was an interesting conversation.
I can imagine. I can imagine it being that good.
Man, I couldn't believe Belichick. He was just forthright with so many answers to all my questions. I just asked him, how does it feel to be such a horrible coach and to have such a terrible quarterback and, Brady leaving and doing so well. And man, we had a lot of fun. It was great.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine just how forthright he was. Like that's amazing that you just got him like that, and he was able to answer all your questions. He's just on top of it. That's great. Great to hear.
Typical. Yeah, he's always just so easy to talk to and deal with. That I just thought I'd call him up and see if we could chat. And so it was fun. It's a good talk, and I'm glad I could squeeze him in just before you came on. So We'll talk about some NFL at some point tonight. Monday Nighters on right now, about halftime. Rams are up 10-3 on the Bears. A pretty good battle between some two good teams.
Oh yeah, man, for sure. The Bears are surprisingly pretty good this year. And the Rams are the Rams. They got that offense going. Whenever they start clicking, they're really, really good. So I'm more curious to see if the Rams can actually hold on to win this game, or the Bears come storming back, which I have a feeling they might possibly do in this game.
I'm a huge fan of offensive football, but the battle between Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald was something that a lot of people were talking about today. They've won 3 out of the last 4 MVPs on the defensive side, and Aaron Donald is such a beast. Khalil Mack, once he got to the Chicago, they just solidified that team, and that's why they're both doing so well right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. Really great move by Gruden's part to just get rid of the Khalil Mack. Yeah, that guy super sucks. He's a horrible player. Got to get him out of there. I have no idea what he was thinking, but yeah. Definitely a better fit for Khalil Mack, for him being like such a generational type defensive player, and for him to be on the Bears. It doesn't get any better than that. It really doesn't.
Yeah. A lot of amazing football talk, but I'd like to shelf that for a minute and get into the huge UFC that happened this weekend. Khabib Nurmagomedov was absolutely incredible in this fight. And really surprised, I think, everybody by announcing his retirement after. What were your thoughts on the fight and his subsequent retirement?
Oh, first off, the man's incredible. If you have to say who the GOAT is for the lightweight division, well, it'd be that guy. It'd be that guy that's never been defeated before. I think that's a pretty easy thing to see for yourself. And also, too, with the stuff that came out after the fight, how actually injured he was that nobody knew. Yeah. That's ridiculous. That's incredible. He fought like that? Like that. Let's be honest. Normal fighters don't fight that hurt, especially with what he was going through. 2 broken toes, a broken foot on the same foot. And the amount of pain that he was going through must have been, I don't know, pretty big, pretty severe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then also, too, for him to go into a war with a guy as dangerous as Gaethje and do what he did. And do what he did is just, okay, because, okay, with the way, for the listeners, the way that the fight ended was Gaethje hit him with a leg kick in the calf kick, hard calf kick. It buckled his leg, but he still shot in and was successful on the shot. Not only was he successful on the shot, he took his back at the same time. Yeah. It was one of the most ridiculous coordinated transitions that I've ever seen in my life for a grappling work. Like, it was just absolute insanity. And then he had him in an arm-in triangle, and changed to a real triangle. Finished the job, end of story. It was done. Unbelievable. The guy is the GOAT, for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that you said there that come to mind, a lot of different things. Obviously, the injury you talk about is just crazy. I heard that 4 weeks he wasn't able to really train hard because of that injury, and I think he kept it secret, didn't really know. That led to him having a lot of trouble cutting the weight. When he stepped onto that scale and they did, get him at weight, he looked so relieved. I've never seen somebody more relieved to make weight ever. Did you see that when he did step on the scale and made the weight?
I saw the skeleton that was Khabib, yes, that went up on the scale to make the weight. That was ridiculous. Like, he needed help to get on the scale and then help to get off the scale because he was just so completely and utterly drained. And then so you take skeleton Khabib, who just barely made weight, and you throw him into the cage with that ferocious beast Gaethje, and then he still does that. The man is incredible. Yeah. He really is.
Yeah. That transition you talked about, taking the calf kick and then turning it into a takedown, not seen very much. Obviously, guys do look for leg kicks if they are the types of submission specialists that he are. But just the way he was able to turn that around and get the advantage. I was speaking a little bit with Scott Holborn over the weekend, and he said that he thought Gaethje looked nervous. He looked like he looked at Khabib as somebody he couldn't beat. Did you get that sense from Gaethje at all, that he just felt like he was overmatched?
I don't get that sense from Gaethje ever. I don't know what Scott's talking about. Gaethje's a real fighter, man. That guy goes in and he lays it all on the line, win or lose. He's just going to be in there for the fight that it is. Yeah. And I'd say that he was cautious, which kind of makes sense because he's going against Nurmagomedov. Makes sense to me. And also, too, the way that he was fighting, he was trying to always lower his base, his center of gravity, to make sure that he was ready for those shots that were inevitably going to come into him. Mm-hmm. So that's what he was really worried about. And he was still throwing his kicks. He was throwing his punches. At the end of the day, it didn't matter. But, he tried. Tried.
Yeah. Well, I replied back to him a little bit and just said that I've noticed Gaethje, especially earlier in his UFC career, he was just, just pressed the issue, just tried to fire as many shots as he could and try to take the guy out. He got caught a lot. Even in the Tony Ferguson fight, which he completely dominated, that first round, he was just swinging crazy, throwing punches, just unbelievable haymaking punches. And he was even doing that against Khabib the other night. I just felt like Trevor Whitman always had to sort of reel him in after that first round and say, hey, come on, you got to dial that back a little bit, be a lot more accurate, be a little more crisp with your shots. Don't try to knock him out right now. And that was what I saw again. He went in with a game plan, but it just seemed like he was just trying to knock him out with every shot. And a lot of those aren't going to connect and aren't going to make the damage that you want to get done. And he was he just didn't really seem to be able to get that chance to change the style in the second round, because it happened pretty quick.
Yeah, it did happen pretty quick. And also, too, I believe Khabib had that pressure on him he knew what his body would be able to withstand and uphold. And he knew that, well, the foot is compromised, this is compromised. And especially once Gaethje starts getting going, a lot of other things are going to get compromised. So I believe he took the initiative and created that scramble out of literally thin air and got the win. And to a certain respect, that it was just, if you see that transition of the way it happened, it was just incredible to watch. It really was.
Yeah. Another thing that surprised me that I've heard over the last couple of days was that he wanted to submit him with Khabib's father's favorite submission. And as he was sinking it in and actually looking at the realization that would happen, it was an armbar, that he thought to himself, I shouldn't do this in front of his friends and family, because he said before the fight he wasn't ever going to tap. And so I'd have to break his arm in front of everybody. Why don't I just transition to a triangle? I'll choke him out and it won't embarrass him in front of his family. Pretty incredible that a guy could be thinking about all that kind of stuff as those things are happening in the cage.
Yeah. Yeah. For him to say, you know what, I'm not going to submit you this way because I'll just end up really hurting you and you'll be on the shelf for a while. But since I'm a gentleman, I'll just put you to sleep.
Yeah.
That is actually quite amazing. That is quite amazing that he even put himself in a situation where he could have those thoughts in his head on how exactly he wants to put his opponent away. That's just amazing.
We see a lot of guys retire and unretire and come back and, have a hard time deciding to walk away for good. With his father dying from COVID and his mother saying that, this should be your last fight. You can't fight anymore without your father. Do you think we will ever see him again in the cage?
Absolutely not. I think that Khabib he's that guy. He's a man of principle. And his principles don't change for money, ever. That's not who he is, and that's not how he was raised. I think if he said he's leaving, he's walking away, he's walking away. Yeah. And we're just fortunate enough to see greatness as it was when he was in the UFC and in the cage fighting for our entertainment. It was awesome to see. And if that's the last of it, well, then hats off to him. And I wish him well for the rest of his life. He's earned it.
You did say that he goes down as the greatest lightweight of all time. What about the greatest UFC fighter of all time? Where does he rank in your, let's say, top 5?
He's up there. He's up there. Top 3 maybe? Top 3? Top 4? Because if it's going to be a top 4, how about this? If there's going to be a Mount Rushmore of Hall of Fame UFC fighters that you've never seen before and never will see again, Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, and I'd say Nurmagomedov. Those 4 right there.
Okay. John Jones, where does he go?
Oh, man, you know what? Cool that you brought him up. I would love to put John in there. I'd love to put him up there. But he has this way of sabotaging himself all the freaking time. So I'm not putting him up there. He'll be in my top 5. I'll give him top 5, but he's not on my Mount Rushmore, man. I'm sorry. He's just not there. His career's still going. Let's see what he does in the heavyweight division. Maybe he can still crack my top 4. Maybe. Sure. But for right now, I'm pretty satisfied with who I have in my Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, I like that you included Mighty Mouse. He's not recognized as much as many of the other guys, especially because he left the UFC under sort of shitty circumstances. But that's great. The only other guy that only other 1 or 2 guys that I might put on that list are Stipe. Probably definitely considered the greatest heavyweight of all time. And Daniel Cormier, being able to be a champ in 2 divisions, having such a great career. Unfortunately, Cormier losing to Jones, and Stipe, does put a little bit of a cloud over his career and legacy.
Yeah, for sure, man. But also too, Daniel Cormier did things that, you know, we've never, well, we have seen before, but he did it in his way.
Yeah.
And he was in some of the greatest fights we've ever seen. So Daniel Cormier, there's no shame in what he's done in his career, what he's accomplished, for sure.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, well, who do we see next? Now that he's vacated the belt, what do you see as the logical next step for the UFC to make? One thing I heard was that maybe McGregor, Poirier against each other. Whoever wins that fight fights Gaethje for the belt. What do you think about that?
First off, I'm going to say this. You got 5 guys. You got 5 guys that are right there at the top, with Chandler now coming in as the 5th guy. So I'd say your top 4, McGregor, Poirier, Ferguson, Gaethje, and the 5th being Chandler. I say that you have a fight off between all 4 of those guys, mix and match, however you want to do it, UFC. But definitely do not do Ferguson Gaethje again. I've already seen that.
Yeah.
I see something a little bit different. All right? But mix and match with those 5 guys to your heart's content. See what happens with that. And then whoever comes out of that scrum gets to fight for the title. That's what I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm disappointed that Khabib walked away. It's so tough to see a guy leave when he seems to be getting better. Seems to be, you know, in his prime still. Only had 3 title defenses. You know, still could be a huge draw. I've got George St. Pierre here on my left and up here on my left. And they talked about George St. Pierre being the next logical opponent of his. And now that he's gone, GSP says, you know, hey, I've been retired for 3 years. I'm 39. There's nobody else I want to fight, and I'm not coming back. So finally, an end to the chapter of GSP. And it's just really too bad that they could never put that fight together.
Yeah, it is too bad. But then also, too, you know, somebody could have something to blame for that. Dana, stubborn. Yep, very. So, you know, his stubbornness sometimes doesn't get him the fights that he feels should happen on his time. Well, how about this, Dana? Sometimes these fights will never happen on your time, period, because you decided not to make them happen. So, great. I'm pretty sure, though, that your owners, the guys that you still work under, because I believe you still have bosses, I think they still have a lot of money to pay off to the banks. So, big fights, kind of a must right now. So, anyways, hopefully, you know what, UFC will learn from this and capitalize on their when they have a chance to make big fights, make the big fight, man. Make the big fight. That's what I say.
I saw a lot of tears in Khabib's corner. Javier Mendez, his trainers. AKA has been a very dominant team for many years. They had Cain Velasquez as the champ, Daniel Cormier, Luke Rockhold, and Khabib now. Now there's going to be maybe a transition period in trying to, you know, get all these guys to coach the next champion. They did talk about Islam Makhachev being maybe the next guy, but 10 years really they've had a belt and title fights to train for out of that gym. It's been a pretty dominant gym there, and yeah, pretty incredible legacy they have had on the sport for a long time.
Oh yeah, man, they definitely have. They've had an incredible legacy, but now it's time for that new blood to get in there and start dominating for like that club, for AKA, for sure. And I know that they got guys on the horizon, guys on the coming up, so that's who they should be putting their efforts and their full force behind, so that they can get their shots too as well.
So the co-main event had a really great middleweight bout between Robert Whittaker and Jared Cannonier. There had been lots of talks that immediately whoever won this fight was going to get a championship title chance again. Cannonier was called out by Adesanya saying, hey, you win this fight, you're next. Adesanya doesn't want to fight Whittaker next, saying, you know, I beat him handily. Why fight him? But after this performance from Whittaker, great fight. Does he deserve the title shot?
Yep, I'd say so. He does. He beat a very game Cannonier. Like especially in that 3rd round where he had him rocked. And Cannonier, like other fighters would have just laid down and said, okay, he got me, right? He did not do that. He did not do that at all. Ended up coming back and rocking him in the third.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like to me, I don't know about you, but it kind of felt like to me, you give him 2 more rounds, I don't know if Whitaker comes out winning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He seemed like he was really coming on at the end of that third round. So, but kudos to Whitaker. He took the fight. He won the fight. Yeah. He deserves to fight Adesanya again, but boy, you better come up with a game plan for that guy. And it's got to be rock solid, and it's got to be good. And on top of that, your game plan better have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C, because that's how good that guy is.
Yeah.
So you better be prepared when you go in there into that octagon with him again.
Yeah, that was it was a fun fight. Cannonier's tough. He's one of only 2 modern UFC fighters with a knockout in 3 different weight classes. Started out as heavyweight, went to light heavyweight, now middleweight. He had that reach advantage. Was really, really had him in a lot of trouble. Wobbled him pretty badly in that third round after taking a head kick. And it was a fun fight. I enjoyed it a lot. But Whitaker's tough. He's number 1 contender. Had former champ there. He's done a lot more than I ever thought he would in the early days. But I think he deserves another chance. No fighter is the same when they step into the cage the next time, and he's been able to face him for those rounds and being able to see what it takes to beat him, and maybe he can come up with a game plan and keep working on the skills that he needs to take out the champ.
Yeah, well, he'll have to, because like that guy is incredibly gifted. So whatever he comes up with is going to have to be really, really, really good. Really good. And also too, sorry, going back to Cannonier in that fight, didn't know this too, but post-fight, in that first round, Whitaker broke his arm off a leg kick. And he kept fighting through it.
Wow.
Super tough.
Man,
it's super tough.
We say this every week, but it's just incredible how tough these guys are. It's just absolutely mind-blowing that they can deal with the injuries they deal with, go in there, get injured during the fights, and continue on. It's just incredible. Yeah,
to a certain extent, they are kind of superhuman, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know what? That's why normal people like us don't fight, because we can't do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to have to fight somebody with a broken arm and a broken foot. You out of your mind? How about this? You go to a hospital, stay there, heal up.
Yeah, I've been to UFC events where we ended up going with the fighter to the hospital, and almost half the cards in the emergency room waiting to get their injuries looked at and broken bones set and things like that. These guys are, as you say, superhuman, tough as nails. Just, it's, take your hat off to them for what they do and how they entertain us. And another amazing example, Khabib with a broken foot, Cannonier with a broken arm. Just, amazing that they can keep at it with these injuries.
Oh, yeah, man. It is absolutely amazing how they continue to just keep chugging on. Just like, just reset that bone, and I'll be good, bright as rain in about 4 months, and I'll be ready to go again. It is amazing.
Yeah. Great heavyweight battle between Alex Volkov and Walt Harris. And Volkov was able to swarm Harris in that second round and take him out with a big knockout. What do you think of this one?
I thought that Volkov looked awesome. He looked absolutely stupendous. He used his size and his reach to his advantage in the first round. Really controlled the entirety of this fight the entire way. And in the second, when he took out Harris with a teep kick to the sternum, oh, man. I was like, wow, man. That was just wow. Swarmed him after that, took him out, end of the fight. But, like, a teep kick like that? Haven't seen that for a while. It was very impressive win by Volkov.
Sure was, yeah. Oh, he looked amazing. Big boys, 6'7", 265 against 6'5", 254. Just incredible. Huge guys. Fast, But yeah, Volkov, just that front kick just really hurt Harris badly, and then he swarmed him. Fight was stopped. That was his 32nd birthday, so happy birthday. What a great way to celebrate your birthday and get a huge win in the heavyweight division. Yeah, he's chugging along, looking strong. I think he's going to get some really top end talent coming up.
Oh yeah, man. Well, so Volkov's ranked number 8. He should be getting a top 5 guy for sure for his next fight, for sure. And then maybe even another fight after that. If he wins that, then he's fighting for the belt. You know what I mean? Like, so he's literally like 2 fights away from fighting for the belt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, this middleweight fight between Jacob Malkoun and Phil Hawes. Pretty impressive performance from Hawes. He just absolutely swarmed him. Incredible knockout. Second fastest middleweight finish ever. 18 seconds, and he raises his hand.
Yeah, I almost missed it. I blinked. I almost missed it. But, oh, man, Hawes he looked incredible, obviously. Like, he staggered him with the right, closed the show with the left hook. That's all she wrote, man. He looked stupendous, spectacular, and beautiful KO. Beautiful KO, man.
Yeah, amazing. It was great. He's comes out of the Dana White Contender Series, making his debut. He's got the nickname Megatron. We've heard that in football, and he's also got that nickname. 100% finish rate. First round finishes. I think that's his 7th first round finish out of 9 wins. And yeah, that middleweight division we talked about earlier with Whitaker and Cannonier, another great contender to come in, make his debut, and huge knockout. Obviously can fight really quite soon. Didn't take any damage at all.
Yeah. He might be one of those guys that hops right back into the keek in about 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
These guys seem to be doing a massive turnovers really quickly lately. So, yeah, I will not be surprised if we see him sooner than later.
Yeah. When you make that much of an impressive debut, they like running you out there real quick. So, okay. Lauren Murphy, Lilia Shakirova, submission win by Murphy. 3.5 minutes into the second round. Yeah, what did you think about that? It was Lauren Murphy's first submission that she ever had in her whole entire career.
Yeah, that was kind of impressive. For this fight, honestly, Murphy dominated every aspect of this fight. She really did. And what really stood out to me in this fight was that she was just that much physically bigger than her opponent. She was so much bigger than her and so much stronger than her. So I wasn't surprised in the grappling exchanges that she won all of the grappling exchanges, every single one. And it was just literally a matter of time for Shakirova before the inevitable did happen. And she lose. I was thinking she was either going to lose by ground and pound or by some sort of submission. Submission came first. Rear naked choke in the second. Great win by Murphy.
Yeah. Shakirova was a late replacement for Cynthia Calvillo. So I could see them putting Murphy and Calvillo back together when that can happen. Yeah, so that should be a great fight. Calvillo had a fantastic fight recently. I think she had some complications with coronavirus in her camp and wasn't able to make this fight. But yeah, I think that'll be a great fight between them if they can make that happen.
Yeah, hopefully they can, and hopefully Cynthia does a full recovery as soon as possible from if she did contract COVID. If she has that, hopefully she has that taken care of as soon as possible so that this fight can happen at some point down the road, probably like in a month or whenever from now.
Yeah. The fight that opened up the main card was this light heavyweight fight between Magomed Ankalaev and Ion Cutelaba. And Magomed looked fantastic. Got the big knockout 4 minutes and 19 seconds into the first round. Yeah, I was super impressive with the Russian, and he got $50K for one of the performances of the night for it.
Yeah, and this fight was actually a rematch of a fight that happened between the two of them that ended in it didn't end well because of the referee thought that Kudalaba was rocked when he actually wasn't. He was playing possum, and so they reran this match right back to from that particular one, and Ankalaev showed that he was a superior fighter. He really did, with a beautiful left counter, put him down on the ground, and then ground and pound from there. That finished the fight.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad that they ran that fight back, because that was just a complete robbery. I don't know what the referee saw, but he jumped in. Didn't seem like there was any kind of real reason why you would jump in at that moment. And yeah, I think everybody was really mad and disappointed. And yeah, it was smart of the UFC to put them back together again. And Ankalaev, yeah, just wow, another Russian fighter that's on a huge trajectory up to the top of the division.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, he put Kudalaba behind him, firmly behind him with that win, for sure. Excellent win by Ankalaev.
The main fight in the prelims was Stefan Struve and Tai Tuivasa. Both of them haven't been showing a lot of great performances lately. Tuivasa was coming off a 3-fight losing streak, and Struve had only won one of his last 5. So wasn't sure what was going to happen here, but Tuivasa was able to get in on that 9.5-inch reach advantage and still take him out. He wasn't able to have a shoey after, but he still had a big victory and seemed pretty excited about it.
Yeah, man, like Tuivasa really took it to Struve right at the end of the round, and caught him with that sneaky uppercut, which folded him like a lawn chair. And then after that, a couple more hits, put him away. Great win by Tuivasa. But with Struve, I always believe that there should be more to this man because of his ridiculous length that he can always use against his opponent, and he just doesn't seem to do that. I don't know why that is. He just doesn't seem to use his length properly at all, especially like not with just his punches, but with kicks as well. So he can be pretty frustrating.
Yeah, well, it shocks me that a guy that's practically 7 foot tall, 6'11 and a half, would even let anybody hit him. You know, you could just keep everybody on the outside with your kicks and with your punches. Yeah, why wouldn't you be able to utilize that? That's an advantage. They talk about it every fight. They show, you know, the guy's stats and say, okay, there's a 4-inch reach advantage, there's 3, 2, but 9.5, like that's unheard of. And you know, he's still unable to keep the guy on the outside. It doesn't make sense. It must be frustrating for you and me, but it must be frustrating for his camp. Like crazy bad.
Yeah, man. Because like it lends itself to believe that if you're punching him at the end of that reach, that ridiculous reach, there's nobody that's going to be able to get in on you. No one. But yet they still manage to find a way. Anyways, I hope that the next time we see Struve that he, you know, begins to utilize that length a little bit more than what he has in the past.
Yeah, there was a catchweight fight just before this one, and it was the fight of the night. Both guys got $50K. Nathaniel Wood and Casey Kenny. It ended up being a decision, but really fun, great fight. They went for it, both of them, the whole entire fight. Lots and lots and lots of significant strikes and really good chins. But yeah, they battled it out for 15 minutes, and it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. It was tit for tat. None of the fighters would ever let the other guy off the hook. You're going to hit me, then I'm going to hit you. You're going to hit me back, then I'm going to hit you back. It was action-packed from round 1 right to the end of round 3. I'm going to be honest. I had Woods winning this fight, but I could see what the judges were looking at. It could have gone to either fighter, this fight particularly. It was well-paced, great fight, and a really strong win by Kenny against a very, very good fighter, Woods.
Yeah. They both threw almost 50 significant strikes each in the first round. Really evenly matched. I thought Wood was a better fighter in that first round. Second round, I saw Kenny slowing definitely noticeably. But then in the third, Kenny got that big takedown and controlled him. It seemed to, sway the judges on his side, I guess. And that was his second win in October 2020. So, they threw him back out there after a big win in early October. And, with another win, I can see him being able to advance his way up division. Obviously, catch weight said he was having a lot of weight issue problems. So we'll see where he has to fight next. But, he's looking good. 2 wins in October. Pretty impressive.
Oh, very impressive. Very impressive, man. And especially with that second win coming against the guy that he beat, Woods. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where Kenny lands, what division he decides to fight at, first, number one. But kid's good. He's a great fighter. Great fighter.
The welterweight fight before this was really great for me. I won a bunch of money. I saw that Alex Oliveira missed weight. He was heavily favored before, and then the odds started going back to Shavkat, but I had already made a bet on Rakhmonov, and he had the big submission win, guillotine choke over Cowboy. He looked super impressive in that submission win.
Oh yeah, man, he looked good, and also too, just how it started off with the knee and a flurry of punches to the breadbasket, got him up against the cage, and eventually when it went to the ground, Rakhmonov just he handled it well. He handled it very well by locking up that guillotine choke immediately after they went down to the ground, and then that was all she wrote. That's all he needed.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great. Great for me. I was really happy that I put some money on him, and he did me fine. So I was really glad that I noticed Oliveira had missed weight and just didn't seem to be in good shape for this one. This other fight, Jung Da-un Jung from South Korea fought Smiling Sam Alvey. Great fight. I couldn't believe it ended up in a draw. That was a pretty strange decision.
Well, I guess it ended up in a draw because they saw Da-un really take it to Alvey in the third. Really take it to Alvey in the third. So much so that they rated that at 10-8 round, clearly. Yeah. Because they had Alvey winning, and I had Alvey winning the first 2 rounds. He was popping the jab, like he was doing really well in those first 2 rounds. Clearly won those 2 rounds. But in that third round, Da-un really came on and was just like a house on fire. I don't know if I'd give him complete 10-8 round, but it was pretty close. It was pretty close. And I guess it was enough for the judges to give him the draw.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he was impressive. That's now he has a 13-fight unbeaten streak, looking really good. I thought Alvey was just amazing at his counterpunching throughout this whole fight. I just couldn't believe how he was just able to completely move and stick and move, and he was just really, really great in those first couple of rounds. But Jung got that knockdown in the third, and then Alvey was in a lot of trouble. Some of those short elbows that Un was throwing right in tight were really impressive.
Yeah, and I think those short elbows is what really swayed the judges too, because they were very, very damaging, those short elbows that he's doing in tight. Yeah. Those look really nice, by the way, too. Oh, like most other fighters, he probably would have had a knockout in his hands. Now, Sam Alvey, very, very tough. Tough fighter, man. Tough to put away.
Okay, I want to talk about this women's flyweight fight. Liana Jojua and Miranda Maverick. This Miranda Maverick definitely seems to be, somebody that they're putting a lot of attention on. And for 23 years old, she looked like a really incredible fighter already. She seems to, be a lot of fun. And some of the brutal elbows. She messed up Jojua's nose. The doctor ended up stopping the fight at the end of the first round because of the nose being so badly damaged. But she comes from the house of Muay Thai, and very impressive performance from her.
Oh yeah, Maverick destroyed the woman's face pretty much with those elbows. It was hellacious with how she was throwing them and everything else. I was super impressed. I was super impressed with her win. and I was just super impressed with the ferocity that she showed in the octagon. It was, yeah, great win by Maverick. And also, too, by the way, she's got a great name for fighting. Maverick, nice.
Yeah, I know, that's amazing. Yeah, they said, yeah, that's her real name. She didn't change it. Yeah, so she's a full-time student. She says she's trying to get a PhD right now. She was the flyweight champion Invicta. She said, just imagine what I'm going to be able to do when I'm a full-time fighter and I don't have to, be doing something else. Yeah, I think she's got a great career ahead of her, and being one of the youngest fighters, in the UFC, it's super impressive. So I'm excited to see her again.
Oh yeah, man. And also too, like it's funny that once she's done doing her smart stuff, she can focus on just fighting and beating up people. Okay, that's cool. That's great, man. That's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, yeah, well, okay. The opening fight of the night was a lightweight fight between Joel Alvarez against Alexander Yakovlev. Submission win by Alvarez 3 minutes into the first round. He has some, he was able to really get a very impressive armbar. And I think Yakovlev has lost 5 times to armbar. So Alvarez did his homework and figured out what his weakness is, and he wasn't able to change the way that he lost.
Yeah, Yakovlev needs to work on his armbar defense, clearly, because he's not going to go too far in the UFC if you can't defend against a common armbar. Come on, man. Come on. Great win by Alvarez, but Yakovlev really made it easy for him by just saying, hey, here's my arm. Here it is. Here it is. Armbar it. There you go.
Yeah, that was too bad. Yeah, he's got to go back to the drawing board and figure that out. So, yeah, 254, great card. Last fight in Abu Dhabi. I enjoyed it a ton. I know everyone did. Now they're back in Vegas coming up Halloween night. First time the UFC is actually going to have a card on Halloween night in their history, which is pretty shocking. I never knew that until this week. It's supposedly the last UFC fight for the Spider, Anderson Silva, the Spider, on Halloween. Kind of cool. Fighting a guy that they said was going to be the next Anderson Silva at some point, Uriah Hall. This should be fun. It should be great to see all the amazing, incredible fights that Anderson Silva had over his career. They showed tons of highlights. You talked about him being one of the guys as the greatest of all time earlier on tonight. What do you think of this main event? It's going to be fun.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think those two will make it fun with their spinning techniques and just Anderson being Anderson. Anderson Silva has wowed us and entertained us for over a decade. So I'm looking forward to seeing him do his swan song here, his last fight. I'm looking forward to seeing Uriah Hall hopefully begin to step up and maybe mature as a fighter too as well with this fight. And maybe he goes on to do more in the division, because I've always expected more from him. But more importantly, I'm just glad to see that the Spider is hanging them up. Yeah, I think he's had a long and illustrious career, and I think it's a perfect time for him to walk away into the sunset.
If Anderson would have retired, let's say, before losing to Weidman twice, would he have that greatest of all time and nobody could ever touch him type of legacy? Do you think he's tarnished his legacy in the last, 4 or 5 years?
It's tough to say, like when anybody's on their downward slope, you just don't want to see them go crashing. You know what I mean? And I don't think Anderson has done that. Yeah, he's fought and he's lost, but at the same time, like when Anderson was at his best, he was really at his best. He was super at his best. So to answer your question, if he had retired before those 2 losses, yeah, I think unquestionably he would be the guy. Like he would be the guy, but he didn't. But you know what? That's his choice as well. If you want to continue to keep fighting, then you continue to keep fighting. It is your legacy. It's whatever way that you want to write it. It's your story to write. So And I can't take that away from any fighter on the way that they want to write their story.
Sure. No, I agree with you. I hate when people, try to tell a guy he should retire or keep fighting. It's everybody knows it takes a lot to get into the cage. You're putting your life on the line, and I know it's so hard for athletes to walk away, from that fame, that glory. They get addicted to the feeling that they get when they are fighting, and I can't fault a guy if he wants to continue on in his career. He seems like he's having fun still. He seems like he's enjoying, fighting, even if he knows it's not for belts and not for, that legacy. He still seems to really, really have a lot of fun with it.
Exactly. And also, too, he doesn't seem to be actually like suffering from any sort of like from long-term concussions or things of that nature, which would really tell you to stop fighting. You know what I mean? So if he's not suffering physically or anything else like that, he doesn't have long-lasting head trauma, of course, continue on. Do what you want to do. But once those things start to pop up, that's when very, very shortly you're going to have to hang them up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then the co-main event seems like it'll be a great fight between Bryce Mitchell and Andre Touchy-Feely. I'm looking forward to that one. Both of those guys really know how to get in there and bang.
Yeah, man, they know how to bring it. And Feely had a very good win on his last outing, so I'm curious to see the new nuances that he added to his game for this fight coming up.
Yeah. There's a lot of good fighters on the card. Kevin Holland, Greg Hardy, Mo Green, Bobby Green. It's a good fight. That'll be a nice way to spend Halloween. They're not really allowing kids trick-or-treating this year, I heard. So, everybody will be able to tuck the kids in bed early and watch the fights.
Yeah, it'll be great for fathers, great for dads. So, son, I can't take you. There's this thing going on. So here's a bag of candy. Do something in the corner. I got to watch these fights.
Exactly. Yeah, nothing you and I got to worry about, but lots of dads out there that watch us and watch the fights all the time. And this one won't be a pay-per-view, so we'll be able to watch the whole thing. That was kind of strange that it was so early this weekend there. I think it was causing a lot of people a lot of problems. And I'm not sure how much it would have affected the pay-per-view numbers, but must have been a dramatic difference for how many buys they would have got.
Oh yeah, because it's super weird to be knowing that you finished watching the pay-per-view and it's 2:00 in the day. Yeah. It's just odd. It's odd for us. But then again, I guess let's say this on the flip side, for any European watcher, it was always odd for them when we got the privilege of watching at 6 to 7, and they were watching at whatever weird time that they were watching at. So this time they get to watch it at a proper time of 6, 7. This time we have to watch it at this. And you know what? Fair is fair at the end of the day. I believe that was probably maybe even written into Nurmi's contract, that some of these have to be given to my people on the European side of the continent. You know what I mean? So I think fair is fair. And if that's what it is, then that's what it is sometimes.
Yeah, no, it was good for them. I imagine it would have been annoying quite for many years being a UFC fan over on the other side of the world, and having to wake up in the middle of the night or first early in the morning. It must have been pretty tough. And I don't even like it when it's on the East. If I'm in the East, then I have to start watching the fights at 10, 11 o'clock at night. It's crazy.
Yeah, of course not. Because like we're creatures of habit and comfort. Like, like if you're trying to tell me it's like, oh man, so I got to watch this every time at 10 in the morning or 9 in the morning. That's not cool. I don't like that. I don't want that. I don't want that at all. I want to watch it at 6 or 7 o'clock like I always do. Yeah. And we're lucky that we get to do that most of the time. And so this time, if we don't get to do that, then that's fine too. That's all right, because we got to give our brothers overseas some love. Let them have their time and let them, enjoy their fights in the evening like we always get to do.
Yeah. I'm hoping eventually there's no pay-per-view. I hope they can get away from that. I hope that they can get enough dollars from television revenue and any other revenue sources and not have that. There's a lot of fight fans that don't get to see it. They're, maybe older, not able to, pay that money not able to get out to the bars, with the coronavirus being, so rampant. It's really tough to go out and watch it. So, I'm hoping eventually it's not pay-per-view. We saw boxing a couple weeks ago that was great. It was on free TV finally, and more eyeballs on that fight than had been in a very, very, very long time. And yeah, hopefully the UFC can figure it out and make it more accessible to all fans.
Well, you know what? They're kind of on that path already. Like with just the sheer amount of shows and events that they now put on through ESPN. They're getting there. Yeah. It's not there completely, but they're getting there. And then hopefully, like you said, one day, with enough money, all these problems can be alleviated, obviously. But hopefully at some point in time, we can get there and everything can be free to watch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that was great breakdown of the UFC. A lot of fun as always. So let's turn to the NFL. Week 7, a lot of fun. There was obviously some really key games that we should talk about. The first one that we should discuss, I think, is the Battle of the Titans. The Steelers and the Titans, both unbeaten. They were supposed to face each other about 3 weeks before, and they didn't. Kind of glad that they didn't, because it was nice to see 2 5-0 teams going into battle and having this chance. Over the last, I think it's over the Super Bowl time, whenever there's been teams that are undefeated and facing each other this late into the year, the winner has went on to the Super Bowl. Big matchup. Pittsburgh was great in the first half. Titans were great in the second half. Should have actually ended up going into overtime, but didn't. But what a great fun game this ended up being.
Oh man, it was a clash of the Titans, like you said, man, and it was a tale of two halves. First half, Pittsburgh could do no wrong. They were pretty much perfect in their execution of their offense and their defense. And then in the second half, Titans flipped the script. All of a sudden, they're perfect in their comeback, and then it was a ferocious comeback that they had. They were a field goal away from putting this into overtime, but unfortunately, their kicker didn't get it through. He did not get it done, and unfortunately, the Titans, well, they lost. But at the same time, they got to be pretty proud of the fact that they can come back the way they did against another 5-0 team as good as the Steelers are. Oh, man, they're going to be a problem going forward. Both teams are anyways, but yes.
Yeah, it wasn't really a tale of two halves. If Gostkowski makes that kick at the end, goes into overtime, I really wish that would have happened. It would have been a really perfect way for it to end. This is the first time the Steelers are 6-0 since 1978, and they won the Super Bowl that year. I mentioned that stat off the top about the winner of this game always goes to the Super Bowl. So they've got the inside track looking great. Ben threw 3 picks, though. That seemed to really give Tennessee that opportunity to come back. They've got Derrick Henry, like we've talked about. He was 20 for 75 with a touchdown, but he was stuffed on a few occasions. The Steelers' front interior defense was able to stop him on some chances and really help preserve the win.
Yeah, man, there was one goal line stance. I think eventually the Titans did punch it in, but there was one in particular where oh my goodness, like the collision that happened was ridiculous. Like one of the Pittsburgh linebackers came shooting through the gap, huge hit on Derrick Henry, massive hit. Yeah. So this is what happened. Derrick Henry goes back to his huddle. That linebacker goes off to the sideline. And I was just like, damn, man. Like, that guy is a load. He is a beast. He is something to deal with, man. But, yeah, the Steelers really came up big against him. Big. Yeah, and they suffered for it.
Oh, man, that was just absolutely titanic hit there in the middle there. That guy, wow, I couldn't believe he could take Henry down. A lot of people have been having troubles taking Henry down the last couple seasons, but that was a hell of a hit that we're going to see on highlight reels for a long, long time to come. But yeah, he probably is going to have a headache for weeks over that one, because
Yeah.
Henry is a massive load.
Yeah, massive load. He's a massive human being, huge power running back, and it's amazing if anybody can stop him. You know what I mean? It really is.
I'll just update you on the Rams Bears game. 24-3 Rams, nearing the end of the third quarter, minute and a half left. Big dominating win for the Rams, so they'll go to 6-1. It looks like. So that was a really fun. That was a really fun game. The Titans were fined $350,000 this past week for COVID violations. They were the ones that had a lot of the COVID problems early, and the NFL didn't choose to fine them, said it wasn't their fault, some of the things, but I guess they've been keeping a really close eye on them lately, and I guess they made a lot of mistakes, and $350,000 is pretty hefty fine.
Yeah, that the team has to pay, or the owner has to pay, who's a billionaire. So, yeah, I guess so. Yep, pretty hefty.
Right. Yeah, true enough. $10 to me and you, but 350,000 to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other game I really want to talk about is the Seattle Arizona game that was late Sunday. Man, what a fun game. It's great to see division rivals really at the top of their games, both playing well. We had the two, little miniature quarterbacks, Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray, facing each other. All the amazing things that happened in that game were, so fun, and we'll break them down. But let's talk about DK Metcalf being able to come back and get Budda Baker after that interception return. He went 22.6 miles an hour to catch him before he was going to score the touchdown and save the touchdown. They never scored on that drive. It was one of the greatest plays I've ever seen.
It was like if you could imagine a horror movie and you're running for your life away from the monster. The monster's like, "I'm going to catch you." That was DK Metcalf. That was definitely DK Metcalf. I ain't never seen anything like that. Like, you're talking about another really, really fast dude that can't run away from a bigger, faster dude. Like, it was absolutely incredible that he tracked him down that way. Like, I still can't believe it. I still can't.
I think it's play of the year. I haven't seen anything that blew me away that much this season than that. That was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. Just, the size of DK Metcalf, to be able to catch a guy that's so much smaller than him, and Budda Baker, who's a really quick guy, it was awesome. I jumped out of my seat and was cheering and looking around for my phone so I could text people like, "Holy cow, that was amazing."
Yeah, and also too the fact that Budda Baker he's an NFL player. He's a big man. Looked like a child. Looked like a little child being run down by an adult. That's what it looked like to me. Yeah. I'm like, what is DK Metcalf, man? Like, what has he been eating? Did we develop him in the lab? Is he a super soldier? I don't know. Like, that was just ridiculous to the extreme.
Yeah, well, he didn't contribute much on the offensive side of things. He only had 2 catches for 23 yards, but Tyler Lockett was the favorite target of Russell Wilson. 15 catches, 200 yards, and 3 touchdowns for Lockett. One of the greatest performances I've seen from a Seattle receiver. The only second guy in their history to have 200 yards, Steve Largent being the other, legendary Steve Largent. Lockett was just dialed in all night, and wow, 15 catch for 200 yards. That was an amazing performance.
Lockett locked it down. He locked it down in that performance, man. Like, he set the tone in that game, even from that first catch from Russell Wilson. The one-handed grab.
Oh, right.
Catch with
first play of the
tight
game.
Coverage. That guy, you can't play him any tighter than that. Yeah. That's not his fault anymore. That's like, oh man, guy just made a play, Yeah. And that's how good he was. That's how good he was for the entirety of that game, man. Lockett was just incredible.
Yeah, and some of those passes that Wilson was giving him, just launching them so high up in the air, and they were just coming right straight down. It was so cool. They have been really so tight. After Baldwin left, Lockett became that guy. And, when he's on like that, so fun to watch.
Oh yeah, I think Baldwin gave him the courage to say, I can walk away because this guy's ready. You know what I mean? And he is ready. Like, just that performance that he had was incredible. But the touch that Russell Wilson showed on some of those passes, those moon balls, drop it right in the basket. Oh, beautiful, man. Beautiful.
Oh man, was it fun to watch? Yeah, just so great. I'm trying to
Mhm.
find I took a screenshot. I'm trying to find it. Yeah, just bear with me for a second. It was talking about Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson. The comparisons, the only two quarterbacks that are under 6 feet. Both of them were drafted in the NFL and Major League Baseball. And I don't think Kyler Murray actually even really has a legitimate shot at the NFL if Russell Wilson doesn't come in and do what he's done in his career. They just don't seem to look at QBs less than about 6'2", 6'3". But Wilson has had that success and being able to show the path. And Kyler Murray comes in and had a fantastic game and has looked great in his career already.
Oh yeah, man. And also too, like there seems to be like a little bit of a discrimination with the size of quarterbacks, right? Because they feel like if you're not above 6 foot or 6'6", like like if you're not incredibly tall, then how are you going to see your receivers down the field? Well, these guys have just been figuring it out since they were like in high school. So of course they figure out how to see where the receivers are down the field and stuff. They'll just, like they have worked with what they've had all their life.
Yeah.
And they're still that good.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you give them an opportunity to prove that they are that good? Like, why would you not do that? Like, clearly Russell Wilson doesn't have a problem doing that. Clearly Kyler Murray doesn't have a problem doing that. Small quarterbacks are just as good as the big ones.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, here's the tail of the tape there. They've got Russell Wilson 5'10" and 5'8". Kyler Murray 5'10". As I said, only two quarterbacks under 6 foot in the NFL. In the MLB draft, Kyler Murray was drafted 9th overall by Oakland, and Russell Wilson was drafted in the 4th round by Colorado. Russell Wilson was picked in the 3rd round by Seattle, one of the steals, obviously, of the 2012 draft. And Kyler Murray went 1st overall 2019. So, yeah, kind of cool. I was impressed by the graphic I saw and thought, man, I should take a picture of that and talk about that on Monday here.
Yeah.
Fun to watch those guys. I love it. That was such a great battle.
Oh, it was beautiful. It was beautiful to watch, man. Like, I was excited that it was going to overtime. I'm like, all right, well, these are two heavyweights in the division coming after each other. Okay, let's see who's number one, who's best. Unfortunately, Seattle let it slip through their fingers. The kicker couldn't hit the field goal. So, it happens. It happens. You got to lose at some point in time. I just didn't want them to lose.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, it was tough. Yeah, it would have been nice for them to stay undefeated. DK Metcalf did score the touchdown in overtime, but it was called back with a David Moore holding call. Seattle has lived quite dangerously. Most of their games are come down to the last drive, one possession games and stuff, and they have had a lot of hard time on defense this year. So I think they were finally able to not over get more points than their defense was allowing, and it finally showed the warts that they've had all year.
Yeah, man, because that defense is porous. Like you can score points on that defense, and it showed in this game. They've been opportunistic at times, but sometimes they just don't get the stops that they need to win the games. So Russell Wilson will still have to be Russell Wilson. He'll still have to play at an MVP caliber level for this team to succeed.
Yeah, exactly. Great moment that happened early in the game. Larry Fitzgerald got his 1,400th career catch, only Jerry Rice ahead of him, and 250th consecutive game with the catch. 11 Pro Bowls in his career. Jerry is the only one that has more than him, 13. You can see Rice up here behind me, my favorite receiver of all time, and it's cool to see a guy like Larry Fitzgerald stick around and start getting into the second position behind Rice and getting all these milestones.
You're talking about a guy that's behind Jerry Rice, and it's Jerry Rice. So yeah, that's pretty impressive stuff. You know what I mean? Like for him to get any of these accolades, even close or remote to the greatest receiver that we've ever seen, is a testament unto itself. Great work by Larry, for sure.
Yeah. Jerry Rice was mentioned again in the Tampa Bay game. Tom Brady threw a touchdown pass to Rob Gronkowski, and they tied Jerry Rice and Steve Young for the second most prolific tandem between quarterback and receiver with 92 touchdowns. And the only guys ahead of them were Marvin Harrison and Peyton Manning, 114. So if Montana hadn't left and Steve Young coming in there, Jerry Rice would be, blowing those guys out of the water. But pretty cool to see Jerry Rice keep mentioning. We mentioned him a bit last week, and he's mentioned a lot, and still holds so many of the records up there.
Of course he does, because he's Jerry Rice. He's Jerry Rice, and he is unquestionably the greatest receiver that we've ever seen play the game, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know about them old schoolers and them people that they've seen, but for this guy right here, he's unquestionably one of the greatest receivers I've ever seen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, well, I guess one of the biggest news that came out today was that Odell Beckham Jr. Tore his ACL yesterday trying to tackle a guy after an interception, and he's gone for the year. Browns still pulled out the win, 37-34 over Cincy. Baker Mayfield had 5 touchdown passes, and they're 5-2 now. They beat the Bengals, who are pretty horrible as usual, 1-5-1 on the year. But we've talked about Cleveland, and we're both pretty unsure of calling them contenders, but this deal them the death blow to their chances of making the playoffs.
It could. We'll see actually how the team responds, and if like the other receivers begin to step up, because the hole that Odell Beckham leaves is pretty big. But that game was as exciting a game as you'll ever see, and Baker Mayfield showed his perseverance in that game by continually bringing the Browns back in the fourth quarter. And that pass that he had to the receiver there, People something. My goodness, what a pass. You could not have placed that football any better than what he did for that catch. The catch and the pass, both unbelievable. Unbelievable, man. So, am I sold on them? I'm still not sold on them. You beat Cincinnati. Yay, good for you.
Yeah.
We got to see them come up big against a very good team.
Yeah. No, that was one of the most impressive, passes to finish off a game and get the touchdown. That was to Donovan Peoples-Jones. Pretty great name. 5 touchdowns, as I said, 22 for 28, 297 yards, 5 touchdowns. He actually set a record to 21 straight completions in that game. So super impressive performance from Baker. And Jarvis Landry also was super solid. Joe Burrow, we've been talking a lot about him as well. It's too bad he has to go to Cincy, and just, they don't have the team that they need to assemble around him. But what a great piece. And his stats were 35 for 47, 406 passing yards with 3 touchdowns, and another 6 carries for 34 yards and a touchdown run from him. This kid is definitely starting to become the front runner for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, well, he did everything he could to try to win the game. Can't blame that on him. He balled out. He had himself a great game. He had himself a tremendous game. Yeah. But unfortunately, Cincinnati is, Cincinnati. So he's going to have to deal with that for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a fun, impressive game, and really great. Yeah, I guess one of the other games that was a highlight was um, the Patriots losing. It's kind of after talking to Cam and Bill, yeah, I don't mind breaking down their troubles. It's good to see the Patriots struggle as much as they are after so many dominating years. The worst home loss in the Belichick era, first three-game losing streak in 18 years or something. Cam Newton getting benched. We were talking about him a few weeks ago as just looking super impressive, and Belichick pulling all the right strings, but the last couple of weeks, they've looked terrible. 0 touchdowns, 5 interceptions for Cam the last couple of weeks, and they seem to be in a big mess right now.
Yeah, the wheels have fallen off for old Belichick, huh? Oh no, no. Yeah, man, I shouldn't be so happy at somebody's downfall, but I am. But I am. I really am. So, but yeah, and unfortunately, Cam is having his difficulties. We've seen this man get benched before. I don't know if he's going to be able to pop back up, but I guess we'll see. But it's not just Cam. Like there's a lot of problems with this team, like a lot, and a lot for Bill Belichick to try to figure out, to try to get them back on the path of winning, which is not going to be an easy one to do.
No, not at all. No, they looking like they're in big trouble. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Tom Brady jumped ship just right at the right time, it seems like, and jumped onto the Tampa Bay team. And Tampa Bay hasn't made the playoffs in forever as well, but they're 5-2 now. Big 45-20 win. Brady threw 4 touchdowns, had a rushing touchdown, which is pretty shocking. 369 yards through the year. Yeah, they first time 5-0 for first time 5 touchdowns since week 3, and Brady and Gronk finally getting together. Yeah, they look pretty strong, and they've got Antonio Brown coming to give them even more reinforcements in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Okay. So Brady looked great. Okay. That's great. He always looks great. It's great. So, anyways, but the big story here is Antonio Brown coming to the team. Now, what's he going to do? That's my real question. Is he going to be the Antonio Brown that just goes about, does his business, is freaking fantastic, and is one of the top-rated receivers in the game? Or is he going to be the vice of Antonio Brown, where he's going to go in there and just blow up the locker room, put people against each other, and all that sort of good stuff? I don't know which guy we're going to see. And on top of everything else, he still has that little legal matter that he's still dealing with, that the NFL is still keeping their eyes on. So as soon as that comes, as whatever falls out from that, he may be suspended again, or he may be kicked out of the league completely. Who knows? But for now, I'm just curious to see if he can actually contribute and not take away from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah. Yeah, well, him and Brady had one game together last year, and it was pretty prolific. There was rumors that the Seahawks were the front runners to sign him and bring him back into the NFL, and I was really disappointed to hear that. I didn't think Brown would be a fit there. He seems to have been a cancer on the last few teams he's played on, and yeah, just can't keep himself out of trouble. Obviously, still has one more week to go on a suspension. Legal trouble still looming. I'm surprised that people are still giving him a shot, but we'll see what he brings to the Tampa Bay. It's yeah, I think it's a big gamble. Obviously, not a lot financially, but yeah, he can come in and disrupt a team that seems to be rolling right now.
He's an incredible talent. That's why you take a flyer on him. And then also, too, probably because Brady said something. That's why another reason why you take a flyer on him.
Yep.
But also, too, now that Brady has probably said something on his behalf, that's on his word now. So now, to a certain respect, Brady's got to keep an eye on himself as well. Make sure this guy doesn't go off the rails. You know what I mean? So, well, we'll see. We'll see, man. It'd be great if he just comes in there and is just like good. and they don't have to worry about him, because then that receiving core that the Tampa Bay Bucks have is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous. What are you going to do with that?
Okay. Incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just blast through some of the other games. Chiefs really hammered the Broncos 43-16. Didn't seem like Patrick Mahomes had a very big game. That was his 17th straight game with a touchdown, but he only had a couple hundred passing yards with one touchdown. But their defense was great. Byron Pringle, 102-yard kickoff return. They got a pick six. And they also added Le'Veon Bell this past week. He finally got into some action. The rich get richer, and with the Chiefs there, even with Mahomes not having a really prolific game, they still stomped the Broncos.
Yeah, because then the defense and the special teams step up and say, "Yeah, don't worry, Patrick, you can have an off game. We got you. It's all good." And then also, too, now that they have Le'Veon Bell just waiting in the wings saying, "Hey, man, I used to be pretty good, and I'm pretty healed up because I haven't really been doing much. I wasn't doing anything." So, like you said, the rich just keep getting richer. And KC is, they're just getting scarier. That's cool. Good to see for me.
Yeah. First time Le'Veon touched the ball, he ran for 16 yards. In his year and a half with the Jets, he only ran for 16 yards once. So the Jets didn't have Le'Veon Bell at his best. And I think Kansas City with Edwards-Helaire and Bell now, look out. The rest of the league is definitely going to have a hard time matching their offensive totals. So unfortunately, I do have to talk about this a little bit. Atlanta had another collapse, and it's blamed on Todd Gurley today because he had a touchdown that he shouldn't have scored, and they're calling it a losing touchdown. They were able to run out the clock if he doesn't score the ball. Detroit just allowed him to run into the end zone, and he tried to get down, but he tripped and he fell, and he landed on the goal line and scored the touchdown. Matthew Stafford was able to grab the ball and march it all the way down the field and get the winning touchdown with no time remaining on the clock. And everybody's blaming Gurley for making a big screw up and scoring a touchdown when he shouldn't have. What'd you think of this one?
That's ridiculous. So he screwed up by scoring a touchdown. Is this what you're telling me? Oh man, Atlanta's got a lot of problems. Oh Jesus. If you're talking about a player and you're saying it was his fault because he scored that touchdown, it's like, that's where we're at right now. That's where we're at. That's where my Atlanta Falcons are at right now. They're a damn mess. But you know what though? I do have something to say about that last drive by Detroit. The second pass before they got into the end zone to set up their scoring drive, to set up the score for the next play, I should say. Did he actually have the ball secured? Was that an actual catch? Was it an actual catch? Because they went up to the line pretty quick and they got the ball snapped, but I'm not necessarily sure that was an actual catch.
Right.
So, but anyways, it doesn't matter. You want to know why? Because the Falcons have bad luck. They're always going to have bad luck. This is not their season. Everything's going to go wrong for them. And yes, that's what happens when you're the Atlanta Falcons for this year. You lose.
Yeah, it was tough to see. Holy cow. Another victory they seem to have, and they lost again. Let's fly through some of these other. Chargers beat the Jags 39-29. Justin Herbert, a phenomenal game. Keenan Allen, 10 for 125. On the Jags team, Jesse Armistead has twice been hospitalized for COVID, and now they called him out for the whole entire season because of this. That's the first time I've heard of an athlete being called unfit to play for an entire year anymore. I'm interested in trying to find out some more information on that, but that was one of the shocking news that came out today for me.
Yeah, you'd think that'd actually be more of a news story. Let's be honest here. With all the stuff that we're dealing with right now, and to hear that like one of the peak pinnacle athletes that we've come to enjoy watching is really, really sick now, has got to be a major concern for the NFL.
Yeah.
A major concern. Because they better be keeping a very close eye on said player. Because if something else goes down and he gets actually even worse, oh man, you're going to be looking at other players saying, I don't know if we want to continue doing this.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, no, I thought it would be a much, much bigger story, but yeah, just a small headline I saw. So, I mean, a small tagline on the bottom of the screen. So, yeah, I'm going to do some looking more into it, and we'll probably be able to talk about that more next week. Green Bay had a huge 35-20 win over Houston. Davante Adams, another massive game for him. We talked about Lockett earlier. He had 196 yards on 13 catches and 2 touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers had 4 touchdowns through the air, 283 yards. But he obviously loves Adams, and wow, what a game.
Yeah, man. Davante Adams is he pulled his impersonation of Tyler Lockett. Just, fell short by 4 yards. Not a big deal. But anyways, yeah, man, Davante Adams had himself a game. And also, too, it's easy to have yourself a kind of game like that when you have Aaron Rodgers passing the ball.
Yeah, exactly. Aaron Jones was hurt. He wasn't playing, but Jamal Williams stepped in. 19 runs for 77 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 catches for 37 yards. So pretty impressive performance by him. Drew Brees was passed by Tom Brady for the most touchdown passes in NFL history. So he has 558. Brady has 559. I'm sure that's going to flip-flop the rest of the season. But the Saints got the big 27-24 win over the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers kicker came up short at the end of the game with a 65-yard field goal attempt. Wow, what a leg on him. He just needed 1 less yard and he would have made it. If it was 64 man. Instead of 65, this game goes to overtime.
Yeah, he was that close. He just needed to put a little bit more air into the ball. Like, it was right down the middle, and it just fell short. Brutal. But, hey, that's the way it goes.
Yeah. They talked about this being Bridgewater's against Brees because he was his backup recently. Brees had a pretty good game. Bridgewater was 23 for 28, 254, and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, pretty good performance, but the Saints go on to another big win. Philly beat the Giants 22-21. Carson Wentz had a huge game, 359 yards passing, 2 touchdowns through the air and 1 on the ground. They played Dallas on Sunday night, and Dallas suffered a massive loss with Andy Dalton taking a concussion, getting hit, and being out of that game into concussion protocol. They talked about maybe a possible suspension for Bostic, but they made an announcement today. No suspension. Might be a fine. But 25-3 lost by the Cowboys. Still have a chance at this division, which is brutal. But, yeah, what'd you think of that hit, first of all?
How the hell is he not, like suspended? Are you kidding me? What the – oh, man. That sends a very dangerous message to the players.
Yeah.
That sends a very dangerous message that I can take off the quarterback's head and not worry about it too much. It's fine. That was as dirty a hit as it gets, man. Yeah. He hit him so hard his helmet came off.
Yeah, it was brutal, dirty. Mike McCarthy in the post-game interview said that he was really disappointed in his team not stepping up and standing up for the guy. What did you think about that? Were you surprised that some of the Dallas players didn't go after Bostic and try to get in his face about taking their quarterback out?
Well, I guess he's a scary dude because he scared all those grown men. He just scared them away. No, you're not going to do anything about this. So I'm the bully. But anyways, though, but seriously, they should have done something. You just don't take out a teammate like that and you just go, oh, man, what a horrible hit. Oh, man, I hope he gets up. He's not getting up. Yeah. Are you serious, man? Yes, right. You can. There was an element of shock, and I get that. But after the shock wears off, you go after that guy. You go after him hard. You know what I mean? It's like you don't take out my teammate like that. That's dirty as hell. And so that also underlies and shows you just how dysfunctional the team is right now.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not gonna pick up for a guy that just got his head taken off, then what the heck is going on with your team, man?
Yeah.
Serious?
Brutal. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it would have made a difference if it was Dak Prescott. Maybe Andy Dalton just doesn't have the room like Prescott does. But yeah, it's brutal. You see, as soon as a guy hits a quarterback a little bit suspect on a sack, guys are in his face. But almost kill a guy and take his head off like that. No response. Brutal. Dallas is brutal. Not a cohesive team, and I sure hope they lose out the rest of the year. I'm not enjoying much coming out of the Dallas camp. It's not fun to watch that team at all. Washington did suffer a huge loss with their safety, Landon Collins, out for the season with an Achilles injury. Brutal for them. But really great news today. Their coach, Ron Rivera, had his last cancer treatment. He walked up to the bell in the hospital and got to ring the bell, being able to finally say this is his last cancer treatment. Hopefully he goes into remission and never comes back. And really nice to see him survive through this.
No, of course it is, man. Like, Ron Rivera is a good man, great coach. And through what he suffered, through what many people suffered was by battling cancer, at least it looks like, there's light at the end of the tunnel. And looks like he's probably going to make it out of this, which is just incredible. It's awesome to see.
I do want to talk about the CFL briefly. You and I haven't talked much about the CFL, but David Braley, the owner of the BC Lions, we found out today that he passed away at the age of 79. He's very instrumental on the CFL continuing to exist and to continue to roll on. He was the owner of the BC Lions. He also owned the Hamilton Tiger Cats and Toronto Argonauts at different times through the year. A lot of people think that this league might not even actually exist if he didn't step up and help keep money injected into these teams and keep pro football in this country. And great man. I was really always very impressed when I got a chance to talk to him and speak to him, and big props to him. And condolences to his family and friends.
Yeah, man, he was one of the guys that was, as you put it, instrumental in keeping the league afloat for those lean years. So it's a sad day indeed for a great man to have passed.
Yeah. Sorry to end on that note, everybody. But we were talking about NFL and just switch gears into the CFL to finish it off. But 24-10, 7 minutes left in the Monday Night Football game. Rams got the ball. So, yeah, I'm sure they're going to secure their fifth win. They'll both be 5-2 after this game. A lot of great matchups this weekend. It was a lot of fun. I'm excited about the division sort of seeing itself. Some of the positions that you're seeing people in top of divisions, wild cards. The league's almost halfway through, and they've been able to be relatively unscathed with the coronavirus. Obviously, we mentioned earlier this guy Armistead having to leave and go check himself back in the hospital, but fairly good so far halfway through the season.
Surprisingly so, to be honest with you. Yeah. Like, even with all their protocols and stuff, like, as far as I'm concerned, there's still a lot of variables you just can't account for when you travel from arena to arena. But you know what? They're making it work. Good for them. Good for the NFL. I just hope, for the NFL's sake, because with that story being pushed to the background, so to speak, hopefully that doesn't get any worse. Because if it does, that's a bigger problem for the NFL than anybody can actually even begin to think.
Yeah, I don't think any of us know what the long-term health effects are. I've seen some reports where people are still suffering 3, 4, 5 months later after they had COVID. There's going to be, I think they said, scarring in your lungs and, different health concerns that they're not sure of because this is such a new disease on the horizon. And so all the best to him, and hopefully the NFL can keep at it. Very surprising. I thought we were going to have a lot of troubles with this season, but so far it's come together not too bad.
Yeah, so far it has, and hopefully, I hope for the players and for the staff, for all the teams and stuff, it continues to go like this, pretty smooth.
Yeah. Yeah, baseball is almost finished. Tomorrow night's game 6. Following night, I guess, will be game 7. So baseball's almost done. North American sports outside of MLS, NFL's it. So, let's hope they can keep soldiering on. We can keep breaking down games. What a fun weekend that was. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot of great football games to talk about from week to week. So, thanks so much for joining me as always, bud. It was fun.
Oh, yeah. Always is fun, my friend. Always is fun. So enjoy the rest of your evening.
I'm really glad you're off this week. Enjoy your week. Have a good time.
Oh, yes. I definitely will. You know that for sure.
Okay. All right, buddy. Cheers. Take care.
Cheers.
Okay. Bye-bye. All right. Thanks to Jason. Thanks to you. This is actually kind of fun, being able to hang up some shirts and jackets and jerseys and put up a little bit of different backdrop for you. I hope you enjoyed the NFL. Hope you enjoyed our breakdown of that. And I hope you enjoyed the UFC as well. Sad to see Khabib hang him up, leave his gloves in the cage, as they say, and decide to retire. Really too bad. But nice to be reflected back on a really historic career. And also George St. Pierre, thanks so much for all that you've done for the sport. And, you'll always be one of the greatest of all time. I wish you would have been able to have your battle against Khabib like you wanted to, but it wasn't to be. So, take care of yourself. Have a really great week ahead, and keep tuning in. Go to our website. Go to our sponsors. I didn't mention much about our sponsors this time. Pampas Impossibilities, Verbero, Forever Living, and Anchor. Please go to CompleteSportsMedia.com and support them. And take care of yourself. Like I said, bye for now.